Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear participants. Welcome to this session of textual study of the Quran. Today we will be starting off with verse 42 of Surah An'am. And from here onwards, you'll see that there begins a mention of the established practice of the Almighty, which is also called Sunnatullah by the Quran, according to which uh, those who reject their messengers, they are annihilated, they are destroyed. And the purpose is to direct the attention of the Quraysh that nations who demanded a sign for God's punishment were never blessed with faith. In fact, the very punishment which they demanded actually routed them. So, in the previous verses, if you recall, the Quraysh would demand that some sign of punishment should be sent so that they believe whether the Prophet is telling the truth or not. So, as a corroboration, as a substantiation of what they are demanding, it is said that you don't need to find a sign, you don't need to look at a new sign, just look at the fate of the nations before you, what happened to them. They denied the way you are denying. And if you continue with this attitude, then you will meet no different a fate. So the words are وَلَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا إِلَىٰ أُمَمٍ مِّن قَبْلِكَ فَأَخَذْنَاهُمْ بِالْبَأْسَاءِ وَالضَّرَّاءِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَضَرَّعُونَ فَلَوْلَا إِذْ جَاءَهُمْ بَأْسُنَا تَضَرَّعُوا وَلَكِنْ كَسَتْ قُلُوبُهُمْ وَزَيَّنَّا لَهُمُ الشَّيْطَانُ مَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. Before you also we had sent forth our messengers to many nations, and they rejected them. At this we afflicted them with calamities and misfortunes, so that they might show humility. Then why did they not show humility when adversity visited them from us? In fact, their hearts hardened further, and Satan made their deeds that they had been doing seem fair to them. So, viewers, this is a very important message which the Quran continues to give uh, over the whole corpus, the whole text. You'll find this message writ large at every instance that the Quran would like to lecture and at the same time admonish and at times direct the attention of the Quraysh that they must realize that their time is soon expiring. And once the time expires, there will be no turning back, because the established practice of God regarding His messengers is that their nation is essentially, it's necessarily destroyed in this world the way the previous nations were. So the people of Ad, the people of Thamud, the people of Lot, the people of Madian, the people of Shuaib, their stories have been cited numerously on numerous occasions in the Quran. And the Quraysh are repeatedly told that just as they rejected their messenger and they were actually then destroyed by natural calamities, you are going to be no different in this matter. The only thing is, it has been said elsewhere in the Quran that this time the destruction shall not take place through natural calamities, it shall take place through the hands of the believers. So, this is a theme that we have to understand, and the Quran, as we go along this surah, will now cite examples the way these examples have been cited in various other instances. So it says, فَلَمَّا نَسُوا مَا ذُكِّرُوا بِهِ فَتَحْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ أَبْوَابَ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ حَتَّى إِذَا فَرِحُوا بِمَا أُوتُوا أَخَذْنَاهُمْ بَغْتَةً فَإِذَا هُمْ مُبْلِسُونَ فَقُطِعَ دَابِرُ الْقَوْمِ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا وَالْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. Which means, then, when they forgot that through which they had been reminded, we opened the doors of all kinds of comforts to them until, just as they were rejoicing in what they were given, we suddenly seized them. Now their condition was of utter amazement. Their condition was of utter amazement. But before I comment on this, the important thing that we also need to discuss is in the previous verse, which says, فَلَوْلَا إِذْ جَاءَهُمْ بَعْسُنَا تَضَرَّعُوا. So, which means that the Almighty, in His own scheme of things, He continues to remind people before that great judgment is delivered, before the time comes in which they are destroyed in this world, they are afflicted with lesser calamities, so that they are able to respond to the fact and they pay heed. And when it is said that why did they not show humility when adversity visited them from us, it is actually an expression of, of yearning. The implication is that the purpose of the torment was to admonish people, was to make them realize. However, it is their own utter misfortune that instead of receiving admonition, they became even more rebellious. So, and what happened was that they did not learn a lesson from these calamities. In fact, they totally forgot them, and they became absolutely unaware that something is going to visit them. So, we have to understand that when they were given these warnings, and in spite of not realizing these warnings, in spite of not responding to these warnings, they in fact thought that this is like a respite, not a respite actually, but like something which God is happy for them. Otherwise, He would have caught them immediately. So this delay of actually calling them to account gave them this misconception that perhaps they are doing whatever they are doing is right. So on the other hand, the scheme of the Almighty is that when people start doing wrong things, then they are given this chance to reap even more of their vices that they are doing, so that once they are caught, they are left with no excuse. So they thought that it was like a scheme, like something God's endorsement. And on the other hand, it was not an endorsement at all. It was like a respite that was being given to them. And this respite is something which once finishes, it ends the term of that nation. So, فَلَمَّا نَسُوا مَا ذُكِّرُوا بِهِ فَتَحْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ أَبْوَابَ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ. Then when they forgot that through which they had been reminded, we opened the doors of all kinds of comforts to them, until just as they were rejoicing in what they were given, we suddenly seized them. Now the condition was that of utter amazement. So this is what I was just referring to, that the respite that is given to them, they think that it is something which is in their favor. So as the Quran has just said, that the words are "Abwabaku fatahna alayhim abwaba kulla shay," that God gave them plenty of things. I mean, He opened the doors of all kinds of comfort to them. So instead, in spite of being reminded through these comforts, they took them as a chance or as an inference that now God is actually helping them because they are on the right path. But when this reached a certain limit, as the Quran says, "Hatta iza farahu bima utu akhaznahum baghtatan," we caught them unaware, we caught them suddenly. Faizahum mublisun, and now they are utterly bewildered at what has gone wrong with them. What happened? They thought that things were going in their favor, but unfortunately, the case is absolutely the opposite. فَقُطِعَ دَابِرُ الْقَوْمِ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا وَالْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. In this manner, they were uprooted. In this manner, they were uprooted who had been unjust to their souls, and gratitude is for God alone, the Lord of the universe, that He exterminated such unjust people from the face of the earth. So, again, this is an expression of the feeling that should arise in the heart of every believer regarding the fate of all those who rebel against God. So, this is like a rebellion, and in the only fate of this rebellion is destruction. There's no other fate except destruction. So, فَقُطِعَ دَابِرُ الْقَوْمِ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا. So, in this manner, they who had been unjust to their souls, they were uprooted from the land. And walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. It clearly says that, and it clearly shows that people who read the accounts of these nations, they are then actually they should understand that when God takes His revenge, or when God implements His justice, then this is what happens. And when justice is served, when justice is meted out, we feel assured, isn't it? In this world also, when we see that heinous crimes have been committed and people get caught in those crimes, and when they are punished for their crimes, it gives us that assurance. It gives us that justice, this feeling that justice has been served. So precisely it is here on this occasion that the Quran says, when people will see that justice has been served, they will say, "Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen," that gratitude is for God alone, the Lord of the universe, that He exterminated such unjust people from the face of the earth. قُلْ أَرَأَيْتُمْ إِنْ أَخَذَ اللَّهُ سَمْعَكُمْ وَأَبْصَارَكُمْ وَخَتَمَ عَلَى قُلُوبِكُمْ مَنْ إِلَهٌ غَيْرُ اللَّهِ يَأْتِيكُمْ بِهِ انظُرْ كَيْفَ نُصَرِّفُ الْآيَاتِ ثُمَّ هُمْ يَصْدِفُونَ. Ask them, have you ever thought that if God takes away your hearing and your sight and sets a seal upon your hearts, which deity other than God can restore them to you? See how we are presenting to them our revelations from various aspects. Even then, they show aversion. Now, this question which is asked has a very poignant implication. It says which deity, which is the other deity that is going to help them, who can restore them if God takes away these things. So the implication is that this is the time when these faculties of sight and hearing should be employed for the purpose that they have been given, and that is to see, in fact, see beyond what is visible, to have insight besides having sight. So, if these faculties are taken away from people, then who else but God will be able to restore them? How will they acquire them again? And of course, when they are taken, then obviously only regret and yearning and shame will remain for them. But then that would be too late. Nothing can be done after that. So it's so important to realize for them that the time is fast running out for them, and before it actually runs out, they still have a chance. They still have some moments remaining. So remember, this is what the Almighty, the way we know him from the Quran is, he is the most merciful. He goes to the last limit, in fact more than the last limit, to let people understand, to make them understand that you still have an opportunity. Please come back to the right path. So he sends all kinds of I would say signs in the form of human elements, in the form of nature, the way nature reminds us, in the form of various other reasonings and arguments. It's just a question of reflection and deliberation that can bring us to the right path, and that for that God has left no stone unturned. So قل أرأيتم إن أتاكم عذاب الله بغتة أو جهرة هل يهلك إلا القوم الظالمون. هل يهلك إلا القوم الظالمون. Ask, have you ever thought that if God's punishment visits you unannounced, if God's punishment visits you unannounced or announced, would anyone perish? Would any perish but the unjust? So, have they thought about this? That the punishment which visits people who deny their respective messengers after the truth has been conclusively conveyed to them, who else, except God can avert it? But if it comes to them suddenly, as the Quran says, baghtatan aw jahratan, it comes unannounced, it comes suddenly aw jahratan, or it comes announced. Even if it is announced, it is pre-announced. Who else but these unjust people would be taken to task? Who else but they would be destroyed? So instead of demanding these signs, they should pay heed, because that punishment is not going to come in a way that you would be able to know that it's coming. It's just going to come and catch them unaware. That is what they have to understand. هَلْ يُهْلَكُ إِلَّا الْقَوْمُ الظَّالِمُونَ, and who else but the unjust shall perish. وَمَا نُرْسِلُ الْمُرْسَلِينَ إِلَّا مُبَشِّرِينَ وَمُنْذِرِينَ فَمَنْ آمَنَ وَأَصْلَحَ فَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ وَالَّذِينَ كَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِنَا يَمَسَّهُمُ الْعَذَابُ بِمَا كَانُوا يَفْسُقُونَ. We send forth messengers only that they give glad tidings to people and deliver warning to them. So those who believed and reformed themselves shall have nothing to fear or grieve. On the other hand, those who denied our revelations shall be seized by our punishment for their defiance. So remember, this is like a last warning which is being sounded to them, that the Almighty says that we send forth messengers only that they give illa mubashirin wa munzirin, that their task is to deliver warning and also to deliver glad tidings. So they are not sent to bring punishment or miracles that these people are demanding. That is not for them. That is for God to do. If He is going to send the signs, it's up to Him. If He's going to bring punishment, it's again something that is His prerogative. As far as messengers of God are concerned, they are meant to deliver glad tidings to people who will actually profess faith, and to others they give warning. So that is all that they do. The rest is done by God Himself, because once this happens, then such people, they deserve to be exterminated from the face of the earth. They are in fact these messengers are in fact sent as bearers of glad tidings and warnings, and so therefore we have to understand that evident from this is that God's messengers are a manifestation of God's mercy. So primarily they would like to warn people of their fate, and they would like to give them glad tidings if they accept faith. So punishing others is not the objective of their position. It is just the consequence of denying them. That's not for what they have been sent. Also, messengers should be asked what they come for, guidance about faith and righteous deeds, and not to bring forth what they have been sent to save people from. So, that is something that has to be understood, that working miracles is neither of their traits nor an essential ingredient of their preaching. Miracles or signs, they manifest themselves only to conclusively communicate the truth, and that too if God wants. Also evident from these verses is the comfort the messenger, where they basically comfort the messenger, they assure him that he should focus all his attention on the exact real task at hand. And what is that? The Quran has just said, Mubashirin wa Munzirin, to deliver glad tidings and to warn people of a bad faith. So this is what has to be clearly understood. فَمَنْ آمَنَ وَأَصْلَحَ فَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ, that those who believed and reformed themselves shall have nothing to fear or grieve. On the other hand, those who denied our revelations shall be seized by our punishment for their defiance. So God has made it absolutely clear, amply clear, not only here but at several instances, that the day of judgment is going to be a manifestation of His mercy. It's not that He has sent His messengers to punish people. Their primary aim is to give them glad tidings. And of course, if they are not understanding, or maybe they are some hitching, then of course the purpose is to warn them that they should not in any way lose track or lose sight of the truth. So it's basically His rahmah, as the Quran calls it. And it's not that He is just waiting for people to punish them. That would not be the right conception about God and a wrong comprehension about Him. قل لا أقول لكم عندي خزائن الله ولا أعلم الغيب ولا أقول لكم إني ملك إن أتبع إلا ما يوحى إلي قل هل يستوي الأعمى والبصير أفلا تتفكرون. Tell them, O Prophet, I do not tell you that I have God's treasures or know what the unknown is, nor do I claim before you to be an angel. I only follow that which is revealed to me. My question only is, will the blind and those who have sight become equal? Do you then not reflect? So, when it is said that I follow only that which is revealed to me, it actually tells us that if people want to debate anything, they should debate what the Prophet is presenting to them. He is not an angel. He does not know the unseen. He's not ever claimed that he knows the ghaib. It should not make a difference because his message does not relate to either of these. His only task is that he delivers to them God's revelations. And this last sentence which says, أَفَلَا يَتَفَكَّرُونَ أَفَلَا تَتَفَكَّرُونَ, do you then not reflect? So the reflection is that will the fate of those who use their faculties of sight and hearing and those who lead lives with their eyes shut, can they be equal? Can you pass this verdict that people who pay heed and people who become blind to these signs, will the two be equal? How can they be equal? So why do these people not reflect on this alone? The Quran has a very distinct style, viewers. If you have gone through the book of God, and I'm sure you have, the way it asks these questions, and these questions are not meant to elicit an answer. They are meant to make people reflect. When it is said, "Afala tatafakkarun," do you not reflect? So it's not that you need to answer and say, yes, I do reflect, or I don't reflect. It's like cautioning and prodding them that you have all this before you. You have the faculty of intellect before you. You just need to apply it. Would you not do it? In fact, it is like urging them. It is like earnestly asking them to do so. And you know what? What happens when one employs this style is that if we learn how the Quran addresses people, we can apply it in our lives as well. So at times we don't need to be directly addressing people for their follies. We should be more earnest, we should be more indirect, we should be more concerned, and the words that we utter should not be harsh, as if we are going to corner the person. Yes, there are instances in the Quran, but then those instances are one in which the Almighty, through His knowledge, knows that these people are not going to return come what may. So that's a separate category of people. But until that time arrives. If you look at the Quran, the way it actually cajoles, it actually at times even pampers people. It tells them that this is something that you're doing against your own intellect. And the only reason that you continuously offer is that we found our own forefathers doing this. This is not sufficient a reason. God has given you mind. He has given you something to think about. So why don't you reflect? أَفَلَا تَتَفَكَّرُونَ وَأَنذِرْ بِهِ الَّذِينَ يَخَافُونَ أَن يُحْشَرُوا إِلَى رَبِّهِمْ لَيْسَ لَهُم مِّن دُونِهِ وَلِيٌّ وَلَا شَفِيعٌ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَّقُونَ. Leave them now to themselves. And through this Quran, warn those who fear to be gathered before their Lord, such that they will have no guardian or intercessor besides him, so that they become God fearing. So we can clearly see that there are three things which become evident. I mean, this is something which Ustad Ghamidi has also pointed out in his annotated tafsir with reference to his own teacher, Ustad Amin and Islahi, that if you look at this, that it says that وَأَنذِرْ بِهِ الَّذِينَ يَخَافُونَ, that through this Quran, warn those who fear to be gathered before their Lord, such that they will have no guardian or intercessor besides him. It has to be the Quran. The most natural and logical means for warning people is the Quran and not signs of punishment. So you see, the Quraysh are being told that why do you ask for these signs of punishment? You have the Quran with you. Is this not sufficient to prove? So that is what again is that earnest form of reasoning which the Quran adopts. It knocks at the door of your heart also. It addresses your intellect at the same time. Secondly, the Quran will also benefit only those whose natural abilities are alive. So that is what the Quran says. It's not going to help people who have decided not to hear, who have decided not to use their senses. It will certainly not benefit those whose abilities have become dead. And also evident from this verse is لَيْسَ لَهُم مِّن دُونِهِ وَلِيٌّ وَلَا شَفِيعٌ, which says that they will have no guardian or intercessor besides him. That the greatest impediment to piety, and charity is the wrong and the erroneous concept of intercession. These people, they bank on their intercessors. They think that whatever they do, they'll just go scot-free because their intercessors, their associates with God will be there to save them. But the Quran says, لَيْسَ لَهُم مِّن دُونِهِ وَلِيٌّ وَلَا شَفِيعٌ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَّقُونَ. They will have no guardian or intercessor besides him, so that they may become God fearing. وَلَا تَطْرُدِ الَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ رَبَّهُمْ بِالْغَدَاوَةِ وَالْعَشِيِّ يُرِيدُونَ وَجْهَهُ مَا عَلَيْكَ مِنْ حِسَابِهِمْ مِنْ شَيْءٍ وَمَا مِنْ حِسَابِكَ عَلَيْهِمْ مِنْ شَيْءٍ فَتَطْرُدَهُمْ فتكون من الظالمين. Desiring these people to accept faith, do not drive away from yourself those who call on their Lord morning and evening, seeking only to gain his favor. You are in no way accountable for them, nor are they in any way accountable for you, so that in accordance with their desire, you become among wrongdoers by driving these people away. The word tatrud in the Arabic language is a particularly harsh word. And it has been used with reference to the mentality of the leaders of the Quraysh, because it was their desire that the Prophet drive away his companions who were poor and who belonged to the common masses. And they would often taunt the Prophet that, are these people who are following you? Are these people who are following you? And they thought it was not befitting for them to sit with these poor people. So they would regard them as inferior and lowly, and would say that if Islam is something superior, how can such people be worthy of it? So clearly you see the direction of address is not towards the Prophet in this verse. It is towards these arrogant people, although it tells the Prophet that do not in any way drive away these people. The Prophet could never have thought of even driving away such people. The thing is that the direction is again to those arrogant people, and they are being told that people who morning and evening, day and night, they live in servitude to God, how can they be driven away and shoved away? And how can the Prophet accommodate people who are rich and affluent simply because they are arrogant enough to feel and see that they cannot sit with these poor people? So instead of directly addressing them, the Prophet has been addressed, because God does not, at times, as is the case here, even consider them worthy to be addressed and responded to. Such is the element of extreme aversion to them, that they have to understand that they are not even being worthy of it being addressed. And at the same time, they are still given a small flicker of hope that you still have a chance. Don't blow away that chance. Once it happens, it would be, I mean, curtains for you. It would be the point of no return. وَكَذَلِكَ فَتَنَّا بَعْدَهُمْ بِبَعْدٍ لِيَقُولُوا أَهَؤُلَاءِ مِنَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِمْ مِنْ بَيْنِنَا أَلَيْسَ اللَّهُ بِأَعْلَمَ بِالشَّاكِرِينَ. In reality, we have in this manner tested one through another, so that these wretched people, after seeing these poor, say, are these people the ones whom God has chosen to show favor amongst us? So you see, what has been said here is that if, because of their arrogance, they become the firewood of hell, the Prophet in no way is responsible for them. Yet he is someone who is not responsible for them in any way. And as you can see, the word is لِيَقُولُوا هَؤُلَاءِ مِنَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِمْ مِنْ بَيْنِنَا. So actually what is being said here is that the consequence and not the cause. In other words, this is a mention of the established practice of God, according to which people are given the chance to indulge in such talk if they want to, and make themselves liable to God's wrath. This is because God has created this world as a trial and a test. And a requisite of this test and trial is that this chance is essentially and necessarily given. وَكَذَلِكَ فَتَنَّا بَعْدَهُمْ بِبَعْدٍ. We have in this manner tested one through the other. So this is like a test. When they see that poor people have gathered around the Prophet, it is like a big test for them. And for the poor people themselves, it is a test for them not to feel humiliated at all, not to feel as if this punch of inferiority that they are receiving in their faces is something that's going to be acceptable. Ultimately, this is a trial that they have to pass through. All that they do need is be patient, because God is going to be with them. And that is why it has been said, وَكَذَلِكَ فَتَّنَّا بَعْدَهُمْ بِبَعْدٍ لِيَقُولُوا أَهَؤُلَاءِ مِنَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِمْ مِنْ بَيْنِنَا أَلَيْسَ اللَّهُ بِأَعْلَمَ بِالشَّاكِرِينَ. Ask them, does God not know those who are grateful to him? Does not know? Is this the case? In other words, this is actually an answer given to their rebelliousness, their arrogance. The implication is that God's religion is not gold, silver, silk, or velvet. I mean, it's not all about wealth and affluence. It's not about having donkeys and horses and camels, if you look at how Arabs would value them. It is a heavenly favor and divine mercy, which is specific for only those who are grateful to God in all circumstances, who give due regard to his favors, who always thank him, and who fully use their abilities. They keep their eyes open, they don't keep their eyes shut, and they are never arrogant. But for the wretched and the ingrates, who have all these inner and outer favors of God, they are recipients of these favors. Remember, God is not selective in this regard. He blesses people of all types. For such people, they will never have a share in this favor in the hereafter. Worldly pleasure are received by both good and bad people in this world, but the gift of religion is only given to those who are grateful to God. So that is why it is essential to understand the scheme of God, which is something essentially known to the Quran, and the way it divulges us must be understood as well. وَإِذَا جَاءَكَ الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِآيَاتِنَا فَقُلْ سَلَامٌ عَلَيْكُمْ كتب ربكم على نفسه الرحمة أنه من عمل منكم سوء بجهالة ثم تاب من بعده وأصلح فأنه غفور رحيم وكذلك نفصل الآيات ولتستبين سبيل المجرمين. Contrary to their desire, when these people who believe in our revelations come to you, say, peace be to you, your Lord has made mercy mandatory upon himself, so that if anyone among you commits evil out of foolishness, then after that repents and mends his ways, then God is forgiving and merciful. In this manner do we explain our revelations, so that the attitude of the righteous also becomes apparent, and the path adopted by the wicked becomes fully evident also. So the words Salamun alaykum kataba rabbukum ala nafsihi, again, just as this word is spoken at times of meeting and parting, we say Assalamu alaikum. It is also used at times of welcoming someone. And occasion and context show that the way it has been used here, Faqul Salamun alaykum, it is exactly in this manner. And also evident from this verse is that glad tidings are being given to those people who to those who were, I mean, not desirous of wealth and status. On the contrary, they were desirous of mercy and forgiveness. They had no interest in the wealth and resources of this world. Their desire, in fact, was their sins be forgiven and they become worthy. They become worthy of God's pleasure. And this is something which has happened in a very clear way. So with this, we come to an end to today's lesson, and inshallah, we'll continue with the idiomatic and literal translation in a while. But for the moment, if you have questions, please raise them.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Saleem, and assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you for an amazing explanation, Dr. Saleem. Dr. Saleem, I do not see any raised hands, so maybe we can move to translation and then come back to this. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to start off the literal and idiomatic translation, starting off with verse 42. وَلَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا إِلَىٰ أُمَمٍ مِّن قَبْلِكَ and لَقَدْ indeed أَرْسَلْنَا we sent إِلَىٰ towards nations مِّن قَبْلِكَ before you. فَأَخَذْنَاهُمْ therefore أَخَذْنَاهُمْ we caught them بِالْبَأْسَاءِ with calamities and ad-dharra'i and adversities لَعَلَّهُمْ so that they may يَتَضَرَّعُونَ become humble. So we sent messengers to nations before you, then we seized them, then we caught hold of them through calamities and through adversities so that they become humble. Therefore, laula, why not, is when ja'ahum came to them, ba'suna, our hardship, tadarra'u, they showed humility, walakin, but, qasat, became hardened, qulubuhum, their hearts. So why did this not happen, that when our calamity came to them, they should have shown humility, they should have, as the verse says, tadarra'u, walakin, but what happened was, qasat qulubuhum, their hearts were hardened. Wa and zayyanna. Zayyana means to make something embellish. Lahum, to them, ash-shaytan, Satan. But Satan embellished them. Ma kanu ya'malun, what they were doing. So whatever bad things they were doing, the implication is Satan made them seem good to them. He made them seem decorative, embellish for them, seem fair to them. They thought that they are doing something good because Satan made them seem good to them. However, makanu ya'malun, as you can see from the context, they was doing something very wrong. Therefore, lamma, when nasu, they forgot, ma zukkiru bihi, through which they were reminded, fatahna alayhim, we opened upon them, abwab, doors, kulli shay, of everything. Abwab is the plural of bab, and bab is door, kulli shay, everything. So when they forgot that through which they had been reminded, we opened the doors of everything upon them, referring to the fact that we gave them all sorts of luxuries. We actually drenched them with all sorts of favors. Hatta iza farihu, until when they rejoiced, bima utu, with what they were given, bima utu, with what they were given, akhaznahum, we caught hold of them, baghtatan, suddenly, we caught hold of them suddenly. Therefore, iza, when, whom, they, mublisun, in bewilderment. So they were astounded with what had happened. Izahum mublisun would mean they become absolutely dumbfounded, utterly amazed at what had happened. Therefore, Kotea means cut off. Dabir, root. Al-Qawm, nation. Al-Lazina, which. Zalamu was unjust. So the root of the nation who had been unjust was severed. In other words, it was uprooted. Wa and alhamd, gratitude. Lillah, for God. Rabbil Alameen, Lord of the worlds. And gratitude is for God who is the Lord of the worlds. Qul, say, Ara'aytum, if you Do you see or have you ever seen in if akhazallahu, God takes away, akhaza, take, Allah, God, sam'akum, your hearing, sam'akum, your hearing, wa absarakum, and your sight, wa, and khatama means puts a seal, ala, upon, hulubikum, your hearts. So have you seen if God, or have you thought of the fact if God takes away your faculty of hearing and your faculty of sight, and He puts a seal, khatama ala kulubikum, on your hearts, man ilahun, man, who, ilahun, deity, ghairullah, except God, ya'tikum bihi, bring them back to you. So if He takes away your faculty of sight and hearing and puts a seal on your heart, then which other deity except God Himself can bring it back and restore it to? Unzur, look, kaifa, how, nusarriful ayat, we circulate our revelation, which means that we present them in various ways. Summa, then, hum, they, yastifun, they abstain from them. So, unzur kaifa nusarriful ayat would mean that look how in various varieties we present our revelations. We present the same message in different ways. Summa hum yastifun. So, instead of accepting it, hum yastifun, they evade it. Sadafa means to evade something. Yastifun, so they evade it. They do not accept it. Qul, say, ara'aytukum, have you not seen, in, if, atakum, comes to you, azabullah, the punishment of God, baghtatan, suddenly, aw, or, jahratan, announced, suddenly or announced, whether it comes suddenly or whether it comes with an announcement. Hal, who, yuhliku, be destroyed, illa, except, al qawmu zalimun, the unjust people. So have you ever thought that if comes to you the punishment of God suddenly or announced, who else but the people who are unjust shall be destroyed? Who else but the people who are unjust shall be destroyed? Wa, and ma, not. Nursilo, we send. Mursaleen, messengers. Illa, except. Mubashireen, giving glad tidings, those who give glad tidings. Wa, and munzireen, those who warn. So we do not send messengers except for the purpose of giving glad tidings and warning. وَمَا نُرْسِلُ الْمُرْسَلِينَ إِلَّا مُبَشِّرِينَ وَمُنْذِرِينَ Faman, fa, therefore, man, he, amana, professes faith, wa, and, aslaha, reforms, fala, fa, therefore, la, not, khawfun, fear, alayhim, upon him, wa, and, la, not, whom, he, yahzanun, sorrowful. So it would mean that faman amana wa aslaha, he who professed faith and reformed himself, there is no fear for him, nor is there any sorrow for him. Wallazina, wa, and allazina, those who kazzabu, denied, bi ayatina, our revelations or our signs. Those who denied our revelations, yamassuhum, reach them, al azab, the punishment. The punishment will reach them, bima kanu, because they, yafsukun, showed disobedience. So those who deny the revelations, the punishment will reach them. The punishment will visit them. Bima kanu, bima, because kanu, they were, yafsukun, defiant or disobedient. Kul, say, la, not. Akulu, I say. Tell them that I do not say, lakum, to you, indi, with me, khazainullah, are the treasures of God. So tell them that I have not claimed that I have the treasures of God. Wa, and la, not. A'lamu, I know, al-ghaib, the unseen. Nor do I claim that I know the unseen. Wa, and la, not. Akulu, I say, lakum, to you, inni, I, malak, angel. And nor do I say to you that I am an angel. So tell them that I do not say to you that I have the treasures of God, nor do I say to you that I know the ghaib, and nor do I say to you that I am an angel. In, not, at-tabi', I follow, illa, except, ma, that, you have revealed, ilayya, towards me. not I follow except that which has been revealed to me. That would be literal, and idiomatic it would be I only follow that which has been revealed to me. I only follow that which is revealed to me. Qul, say, hal, can, yastavi, be equal, al a'ma, the blind, wa, and, al basir, the one who has sight. Ask them, can the person who is blind and the person who has sight be equal? Afala, do you not? Do they not? Or do you not? Tatafakkarun, deliberate. So, do you not deliberate? How can the two be equal? One is blind and the other has sight. Wa anzir bihil lazina, wa and anzir, warn, bihi, through the Quran. Al lazina, those who yakhafuna, have fear. An, that yuhsharu, they will be gathered. Ila, towards Rabbihim, their Lord. So, and through this Quran, warn those people who have this fear that they shall be gathered towards their Lord. Laysa lahum, there will not be for them, min dunihi, except God or besides God, wali, any guardian, wa, and lot, la, not, shafi, any intercessor. So, the Lord, this who is this Lord? He is the Lord. Except him, there will be no guardian and there will be no intercessor. There will be no intercessor and guardian except God for them. لَعَلَّهُمْ, so that they yattaqoon, become pious or become God fearing or become God conscious. Wa, and, la, not, tatrud, shove. Tatrud means to just push away, to shove away. Allazina, those who yad'una, call, Rabbahum, their Lord, bil ghadawa, in the morning, wa, and, al ashiyi, in the evening, yuriduna, wanting, wajhahu, his countenance, his pleasure. So, O Prophet, do not shove away those people who call upon their Lord morning and evening, wanting his pleasure, wanting to please him. Ma, not, alayka, upon you, min, from, hisabihim, their accountability, min shay, anything. So, you do not in any way will be held accountable for what they do. You will not be accountable for them. Wa, and, ma, not, min hisabika, your accountability, alayhim, upon them. And this is the reverse. And in no way you will be accountable for them. That is the first thing. And they in any way also will not be accountable for what you are doing, min shay, in any way. فَتَتْرُدَهُمْ, so that as a result you have to shove them away or to drive them away. فَتَكُونَ, therefore, takuna, you will become, min al-zalimin, the unjust. So remember, we have just discussed that although these harsh verses, this harsh address seems to be towards the Prophet, it is actually directed towards his addressees. It's not directed to him, it's like an indirect address. Wa, and, kazalika, in this way, fatanna, we test, ba'dahum, some of them, bibadin, with others. So in this way, we test some others with others. Liyaqulu, so that they say, in conclusion, ahaulai, are these, mannallahu, are the ones whom God shown favor, alayhim, upon them. So it's I think I need to correct myself here. When I was discussing this verse, I misread this as minallah. So it's not minallah, it's mannallah. So manna actually means to show favor and to do good to do something good. So what it is saying is, haulai, are these the one, mannallahu alayhim, upon whom God has shown favor, mim bainina, who are amongst us. Alaysa, is it not? Allah, God, bi'a'lama, more knowledgeable, bishakirin, of the grateful. So what is being said here is God not more knowledgeable of those who are grateful? Wa, and, iza, when, ja'aka, come to you, allazina, those who, yu'minuna, professed faith, bi'ayatina, in our revelations. Faqul, so say, salamun alaykum, peace be to you. So, wa iza ja'aka allazina yu'minuna bi ayatina would mean that when these people who believe in our revelations come to you, faqul, say, peace be to you, which means we welcome you. Kataba, kataba rabbukum ala would mean that God has made it compulsory Allah upon, nafsihi himself. God has made compulsory upon himself ar-rahma, mercy. So, in other words, God has made mercy compulsory upon himself. And what is that? Annahu, that man, he, amila, did, minkum, from among you, su, something bad, bijahalatin, in frenzy, thumma, then, taba, repented, mimbaidihi, after that, wa, and, aslaha, and reformed himself, fa annahu, therefore he, we should realize that God, Ghafurur Rahim, is ever merciful and also forgiving. So, in other words, if someone commits something bad, some sin, and he does it in frenzy, and then he repents and then bends his way, then God is merciful and forgiving. Which means that if someone immediately repents after doing something wrong, he comes out of his frenzy and asks for forgiveness, then it is incumbent upon God to forgive him. Wa, and kazalika, in this way, nufassilu, we explain, al ayat, our revelations, wa, and litastabina, so that it becomes apparent, sabilul mujrimeen, the way of the sinners. So in this way do we explain our revelations, so that the way of the sinners become evident. And because we have a vav here, you can see, so there is a suppression which of the opposite clause, and that would be so that the attitude of the righteous becomes apparent, and the attitude of the sinners also becomes apparent. So this is a very common style of the Quran, that when one part of the clause is suppressed, the other part actually evidences its presence. So with this, we come to an end to the literal and idiomatic translation as well, and now we can move to the Q&A segment.
So, Dr. Saleem, I do not have any raised hands, but I have two chat questions that I will ask, and they're both regarding the passage. So, the first
Yes,
one is verse 44 mentions the Sunnah of God Almighty regarding the direct addressees of the prophets, that
correct.
when they become oblivious to warnings, Allah showered them with everything they desired. But just as they become prideful of what they were given, God seized them by surprise and instantly they fell into despair. How did this sunnah of the God manifest in case of the last prophet? Is there anything in the historical records?
Of course, I mean, it manifested in the case of the last prophet, because we know that all the Quraysh, they accepted faith on the day Mecca was conquered, and as the Quran says, "Yadkhuluna fi dinillahi afwaja," that they entered folds of Islam in multitudes, in hundreds and thousands. Only a very handful of people did not accept faith, and they were avowed enemies of Islam. And about them, the directive of God was to the Prophet that they must be killed, even if they are found in the curtains of hiding in the curtains of the Kaaba, because they had committed high treason, and they had a number of other sins and crimes in their record. So, except for these four or five handful of people, the rest of the nation of the Prophet accepted faith. So they were never destroyed, and this chance never ever arose.
Okay. So, Dr. Saleem, just asking on, I'm asking this question, just kind of building off this question. So, when Fatah Makkah happened,
Yes,
is this okay?
correct.
Okay. Another chat question is, does 52 do not drive away those, and then it says, call on their Rabb, refer to Bilal, Ammar, and Suhaib?
No, no, this is not the case. I mean, the Quran is not named anyone. Historically, people do make guesses. They do rely on certain narratives, but the Quran explicitly has not named anyone. The Quran has just said that the people who initially followed the Prophet were poor people, people who were paupers, people who lived hand to mouth, and the Quraysh, who were very affluent, they were very rich. So they had an aversion to these people, and because of this class difference, they didn't want to sit with them. So without pinpointing anyone, the Quran does not pinpoint them. It is just telling the Prophet that if you ever feel that because of these companions of yours who are poor, these rich people of the Quraysh are not coming towards you, you should not think that if you let go of these poor people or tell them to just give them him some time so that he can spend time with the affluent people and talk to them, this would something be lucrative. So this is what the Prophet is actually being conveyed, and as I said earlier on, the message is towards those Quraysh, And they are being told that it's not wealth, it's not horses or camels or velvet or all these signs of wealth that they have that's going to attract the attention of the Prophet towards them. So that is what is being said here.
Okay. So I have Shabnam on the forum. Shabnam, you can ask your question, and everybody else, if you have any questions pertaining to the passage, please raise your hand. Shabnam, do you have a question?
जी 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 जी
Right.
बिस्मा थैंक यू बिस्मा सर आपने ट्रांसलेट किया वर्ड विल इको विद कैलेमिटीज तो सर व्हाट
Hmm.
इज द मोर लाइकली closer translation it would be financial calamity or any calamity.
I mean, when it is not used in certain contexts, so al-ba'sa means, I mean, it could mean physical calamities, it could mean war, and dharra could mean something that touches our heart, I mean, something which touches our physical self. So, ba'sa is generally the outward conditions like strife and lack of peace, lack of stability, and zarra is something that relates to our physique more, like, for example,
Right.
illness or sickness.
Okay sir, thank you so much.
So, Dr. Saleem, I do not have any raised hands right now pertaining to the passage. If anybody has any questions regarding the passage, please go ahead and ask them. Otherwise, we can open the forum for general questions, Dr. Saleem, if that's okay.
Yes,
We have
that's
time.
okay. Yes.
If anybody has any general questions, please go ahead and raise your hands. This is a great opportunity for you to ask the questions directly to Dr. Saleem. Yes, Asif, please go ahead.
I want to just get a clarity about my previous question. When I asked about the verse 44, which mentions the Sunnah of the God
Yes.
regarding the direct addresses, and you mentioned that in case of Quraysh, because there were only a few people who didn't,
Yes.
accept that truth. But
Mhm.
what is mentioned in this verse is regarding some direct addresses of the past. Quran mentions that they became oblivious to warnings, and Allah showed them with everything they desired. Specifically about this, Allah showered them with everything they desire. If is any such thing happened in case of the direct addresses of the last prophet?
Yes, we know that the Quraysh, I mean, they were the owners of the trade routes, so they were extremely rich. Caravans would go from Syria and to Palestine and to not to Palestine, to Egypt and to other countries, and they had become very rich because of that. Then during the Hajj season, we know that there was a special market which is called the Ukaz. So Ukaz was a market that would be set up in the Hajj season, and people from all over Arabia and outside of Arabia would come with their merchandise, and this would actually really make them flourish. And also, the Quraysh were the custodians of the Baytullah. So there was a whole treasury, and you should know that Abu Lahab was in charge of the public treasury of the Baytullah, and it was he who first sensed that he would be the first one to be displaced from his position if ever the Prophet is given the reins. So they were very rich people, and the Prophet's own family, the Banu Hashim, also were extremely rich. And it's, I mean, people often think or talk about the fact that the Prophet used to go and have those, some of his goats, I mean, have them graze in the land. If he ever did that, it was purely out of his own hobby. It was not that he was required to go and graze his goats ever. He belonged to a very, I mean, a very influential clan. It was only later on in Medina when the Quraysh became their very strong enemies that at times there were times in which, because of migration, we find that the people who were living in the mosque of Medina, the Masjid al-Nabawi, the Prophet would at times not eat for himself, and we know the Aisha Ta'ala Anha has reported this, that for weeks at times they would not have anything to eat except dates, because when any food would come, the Prophet would send it first to the people who were living, the Ashab al-Sufa as you call them, in the mosque. So this was a much later sort of I would say, circumstance. Otherwise, the opponents of the Prophet, they were very rich and they were given this respite. In fact, if you look at Surah Quraysh, it says, لَإِلَافِ قُرَيْشِ إِلَافِهِمْ رِحْلَةَ الشِّتَاءِ وَالصَّيْفِ, that these trade routes were the ones through which they had become so rich. And then allazi at'amahum min ju'in wa amanahum min khawf, that they were the ones whom, because of these trade routes, they were given a lot of food supplies. And then amanahum min khawf, which means that in Arabia, the Quraysh had a very special status because they were the custodians of the Baytullah. Other tribes were looted and plundered, but the Quraysh, they were given this protection. They were always, thought of as one step higher, and they would never be looted and plundered because they were thought as the people who looked after the pilgrims. So this happened very clearly in the times of the Prophet also.
Okay. Asif, do you have a follow-up question?
So that means that affluence of the Quraysh at that time was part of the divine scheme that
I
was
mean, this
actually
is,
happening at that time.
yes, you see, this is something that it's not that it happened in the times of the Prophet. It was something that was continuing before the Prophet was even born. It had reached a certain height, you can say, and the coffers were full. They had lots of money. They had, the Quran has actually said in Surah Tawbah and many other verses that this gold and silver that you gather for yourself and put them to your own use and don't spend it on other, it's going to be made a firewood of hell on you, and you will be branded with that silver and gold. So it reached a certain height, but it's not that they were poor earlier on. They were the custodians of Baytullah from very earlier on, and hence they were protected by other tribes as well.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. I have a chat question. So everyone, I'm going to be asking this question. If after this, if you have any questions, please raise your hands. Otherwise, we will end the session. Dr. Saleem, so there's a chat question, which is 54. You said God has made compulsory on him mercy. Did you mean
Yes.
to show mercy and be forgiving to others?
No. You look at the verse, it's not complete there. The words are Kataba Rabbukum ala nafsi rahma annahu man amila minkum su'a bi jahalatin summa taba min ba'di. It's not an absolute verse. It says that God has made mercy incumbent upon himself for those people who commit sin in frenzy, summa taba, then repent after that, min ba'dihi wa aslah, and reform themselves. So God is very forgiving towards them. It's not, that sentence is incomplete if you stop there. It's continuing. The words are annahu man amila minkum.
So I just wanted to ask, so is that when they commit sin against him or against people?
I mean, of course, against it has not been mentioned here. If it has done something against people, it has two components. They have to seek forgiveness from the person and from God as well. So
Right.
this is something. God is not going to forgive purely because He has forgiven and the other people have not. The only thing is, God says, "I, on my part, will forgive such a person." But for complete forgiveness, the other person whom you offended must also forgive you.
Okay. Shabnam, please go ahead, ask a question.
जी थैंक यू सर ये हिस्टोरिकली कहा जाता है कि हजरत अब्दुल मतलब ने गालिबन कोई उनकी कोई नजर थी कि मुझे अल्लाह इतने बेटे दे तो मैं एक बेटे को कुर्बान करूंगा, और जब वो वक्त आया तो हजरत अब्दुल्ला के नाम का वो निकला जो ने पूरा डाला, और देन सर ही केप्ट सैक्रिफाइसिंग कैमल्स, और वो 100 कैमल्स पे जाके जो है वो
Correct.
सर ये ठीक है सर, ये इज इट ट्रू?
Yes, this is. It seems correct because this is what has been reported in many historical sources, and it is as a result of this that we find that the diyat in the times of the Prophet, when Prophet was growing, and it was his own times, that the diyat had reached 100 camels. So
Right,
it was
sir.
basically lots were cast because the name of Abdullah came up every time with those lots, and so people said that you do it again and again and again. So it reached the count of 100, and then Abdullah's name did not come up. So the diyat was then regarded to be as 100, and camels were sacrificed instead.
Right, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Omar, please go ahead, ask your question.
जी थैंक यू सर। आपने फरमाया कि शुरू में जो ज्यादा लोगों ने इस्लाम कबूल किया वो गुरबा में से थे। सॉरी मैं सुन नहीं सका, तो सर ये क्या, इसमें क्या लॉजिक है या इसमें क्या वजह बनी इसकी?
I mean, we don't need to find any logic because this is a factual happening. Something happened, that people who were poor, they came to the Prophet earlier. One prominent reason could be that people who are rich, they often become arrogant. I mean, richness and affluence makes a person arrogant, and also we know that in the case of the Quraysh, they were not willing to listen, and they were always insisting that we will follow our forefathers. Similarly, when they were told that the partners that you associate with God, they have no basis, again they would confront the Prophet and would not accept it. So, I mean, the reasons are plentiful. So, it's a factual happening that it seems that people who are, not that well off, this is normally the case that their hearts become softer much earlier. But this is not a rule of thumb. In the case of the Prophet, it's a fact that happened, and it has many reasons. As I said, one of them is arrogance, or could be arrogance.
Okay, Bhatti Saab, please ask your question, Akram Bhatti.
थैंक यू मैम। अस्सलाम वालेकुम सर।
वालेकुम।
सर जो हम अभी सिस्टर वो पूछ रही थी सवाल कि हजरत मोहम्मद अब्दुल मुतल्लिब अब्दुल्ला के बारे में, इसी तरह एक तो रेफरेंस मुजादला में भी है कि अल्लाह ताला की तरफ से वो आती थी, कोई बिजली या कुछ आती थी और जला देती थी, पता शाइन आ जाता था कि ये एक्सेप्ट हो गई है दुआ। इस तरह वो जो काबिल हाबिल का वाकया भी है, तो ये सुन्नत जो अल्लाह ताला की थी कि क्या अल्लाह ने खुद ही चेंज कर दी या क्या हुआ? अब तो हमें कुछ नहीं पता चलता, दुआ मांगते रहते हैं, अल्लाह को
पता। It's not the dua, it was the sacrifice. I mean, animal sacrifice, whether it was is acceptable or not. The Quran has mentioned this, not in Surah Mujadala, it's in Surah Maida actually, and it is also very much found in the Bible also, that those sacrifices which were acceptable to God, or which God accepted, were the ones which once were given, the fire would descend from the heavens and would consume it, and this would be a sign from God that it has become acceptable. The Quran mentions it, and the Bible also mentions this.
यही मैं पूछ रहा हूँ कि वो अल्लाह ताला ने जो ये सुन्नत थी अल्लाह ताला की, खुद ही अल्लाह ने चेंज कर दी या?
Yes, this is something that was related to the era of the prophets of God, because you see, in the era of the prophets of God, there's a number of things that become palpable. Angels, they become very a commonplace thing. They help the individuals in their tasks. They help the warriors in waging war, and similarly, the contact of the Almighty is much more palpable. It's much more, I would say, tangible, and it is something that is acceptable. So this is something that is specific to the era of the prophets of God. Yes, later on it does seem that this changed, and this is no longer required, because remember, it was in the earliest of times, just as we have the worship ritual of the prayer as 5 times a day. The earliest sharias, if you look, for example, the earliest sharias, in those sharias, the extent of animal sacrifice was much more, and it was mandatory. So it was as if we have to pray 5 times a day. It was as if almost the same, that they would have to slaughter an animal 3 or 4 times a day as a means of worship. So the extent of this animal sacrifice was much greater in the previous sharias, and hence we can see that the acceptability of something would become very important. But as this reduced over a considerable period of time, and until the time of Prophet Muhammad, we can clearly see that except for the tamattu hajj, there is no animal sacrifice which is mandatory. You don't have to throw any banquet, as people wrongly think, on a walima. That's not part of Islam, that's more culture. Similarly, aqiqah is again something that's an optional thing, and again, when you do a qurbani or animal sacrifice, that's again an optional thing. And you go on and on, you'll see that except for the Hajj Tamattu, all the animal sacrifices that we have in Islam, they're all they're all optional.
तो क्या रसूलुल्लाह सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ने दुआ मांगी थी कि अल्लाह ताला ये हमें?
No, I think it's happened much before him. It's not just with him that it happened before him.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. Umar, please ask your question.
जी थैंक यू सर। ये पहले भी मैंने आपसे सवाल पूछा था, लेकिन सर मैं एक्सपीरियंस कर रहा हूँ अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह, इस साल में मैंने काफ़ी कुरान मजीद जो छोटी सूरतें उनको अरबिक समझ के मैंने याद करके पढ़ना शुरू किए। तो सर उसमें मुझे जो पहले मैं पढ़ता था तर्जुमा या तफसीर भी पढ़ता था सर, उसमें और इसमें बहुत ज़मीन आसमान का फ़र्क है। वो कल बिस्मा साहिबा ने भी सवाल पूछा था कि वो उस कुरान मजीद की तिलावत सुनती हैं, तो सर जो समझ के उसके बाद तिलावत भी सुनता है आदमी, सर उसका एक लेवल ही अलग है। तो मुझे वो समझ नहीं आ रही सर कि उसको रिकंसाइल कैसे करेंगे, सिर्फ तर्जुमा पढ़ लें तो वो काफी होगा।
Because you have not, I mean, people who, what you have experienced, other people have not yet experienced. So you see, just enjoy your experience. Don't forget about what other people do if they don't read the translation. I mean, let them also traverse the journey that you have traversed. So just marvel at your own journey. Just be happy and rejoice. Thank God that you have been able to come to this stage that you are enjoying reading the Quran through a translation. I think that's what you should do.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. I do not have any raised hands right now. Everyone, I ask you one more time. We have some time left if you have any questions. Otherwise, we will be ending the session. Okay, Shabnam has a question. Shabnam, go ahead.
जी थैंक यू सर। मुझे बहुत दफा ख्याल आता है बाइबल में वो ओल्ड टेस्टामेंट, न्यू टेस्टामेंट एंड ऑल दैट कुछ हिस्ट्री है, और तो सर आई वंडर कि ज्यूज और क्रिश्चियंस दोनों किसने कंपाइल की होगी, और ज्यूज और क्रिश्चियंस कैसे एग्री कर गए कि उन्हें एक जगह पर बाइबल को इकट्ठा कर दिया जाए।
So you see, this is the Christian compilation of the Bible. The Jews, they don't publish the Bible the way we have it. They just have their own books.
राइट सर। सर वो तौरा को तो क्रिश्चियंस कहते हैं कि वो तो मतलब मानते ही नहीं ना कि वो उनके लिए थी, मतलब दे उसको तो कर दिया ना, डिसरिगार्ड कर दिया कि हमारे लिए थी नहीं।
No, that is not correct. The Christians accept it. They just say that the Sharia of the Torah was meant for the Jews, not for the Gentiles. This is how Paul actually abrogated the Sharia.
Oh.
It's not that they don't accept it. So they read it. The only thing is that the Sharia part of the Torah is something which they say is not applicable to them. It's the Jews who don't publish the New Testament. Yes, if you look at their books, they'll have the Pentateuch, which is the first 5 books of the Torah, and the Old Testament, of course, has more than the 5 books as well. So the Old Testament and the Torah are not the same. So the Pentateuch are the first 5 books, and they constitute the Torah. Whilst the Old Testament also has the scriptures of the lesser prophets of Israelites, which are called the smaller prophets, or the prophets other than the major ones. So they have their scriptures as well, like Jonah and Job and the rest.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Saleem, just one last question that I have, and then I think we'll end the session because we have no one else. So the Madian that's referred to in Surah Anam, is this the place where Moses got his first revelation, the same place?
Most probably. Well, I would need to look at the place, but yes, most probably it is the same place.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Saleem. And I think we still have time, but no more questions. So I think I'll be ending the session. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Dr. Saleem, for, of course, sharing your wisdom with us. Truly appreciate you. And we'll see everybody next weekend. Khuda Hafiz.